let's talk about this gun, this number 4 Mark 1. It started off as a concept or a prototype. 1931, they went into trials. Very successful design. The British Army accepted this as a new rifle in 1939, but didn't go into full production until June of 41. So we had 10 years before this gun actually started rolling off the assembly line, from initial trials till full production. So production started in 1941. Yeah, this particular gun was made Royal Ordnance for Zachary. And the nomenclature is a number 4 Mark 1. And you're asking yourself, well, how'd they go from the number 1 Mark 3 to a number 4 Mark 1? What happened to 2 and 3? Well, what happened is after the number 1 Mark 3, there was also a number 2, which was a training rifle. It was a 22 caliber training rifle. It was a number 1 Mark 3 converted to shoot 22 caliber. The P14, the 1914 303 bolt action that was made, mostly in America, Winchester, Remington, that became the number 3 rifle after 1926 and when the nomenclature changed. And so you had the number 1s, you had the number 2 training rifle, the number 3 was that P14, so you had to have the number 4. Yes, it's very confusing. But this is the number 4 Mark 1, and there was some improvements, some changes. There's Mark 1 star, there's a Mark 2, there's a Mark 3. And then they went to the number 5, which was that shortened jungle carbine. So there is even a version after this one. But this was the World War II rifle.
5 rounds. Done. Put the target sights up.
This particular gun has been upgraded with a target sight. You'll see here there's what they call the battle sight. And when you flip this up, you had a graduated, an adjustable target sight with a smaller aperture. So now you had this flip up adjustable for elevation. It's only adjusted for elevation, not for a windage. And when you flipped it down, now you had the battle sight with a larger diameter. What that replaced was what they called the battle sight. And this one, as you can see, it's stamped 300 and 600. This was the original sight for it. It was just an L-shaped flip up. Would flip that same thing. That is one diameter was for 300 meters, the other diameter was for 600 meters. And that was replaced now with this adjustable vernier sight for target shooting. The other, I talked about, that had several modifications. The other improvement this one has, it has the brass butt plate on it, where originally it was some kind of pot metal, an aluminum-like metal that prone to cracking and breaking. That was replaced with a brass, and I think that brass one came off an older Enfield, not a newer one. You can see that 10-round magazine, and if you look, because these are rimmed cartridges, they kind of have to be stacked one rim above the other so you don't get rim lock. Rim lock is when you go to close the bolt on one, but the rim of the next round is in front of the round you're trying to load and doesn't really load very easily. It kind of takes the shape of that magazine, doesn't it? That's one way of loading these to avoid that rim lock, is each round sits on top of the previous round. Talked about rim lock and these rimmed cartridges. These are the Mark 7. This is the ball ammo. This is the military ammo. This is old surplus ammo that I've been stockpiling. But because that rimmed cartridge, you'd have to get, as these line up in the magazine, you'd want that rim to be in front of the round behind it. If it was vice versa, and I had this rim on top, it wouldn't want to load into the chamber and it would get caught or hung up or rim locked. So as you load these, you had to be sure that the top round was ahead of the lower rounds. And that's why you get that shape. That's why that magazine or that magazine has to be fed with these clips. And you have to be sure that the rims are one behind each other so they don't get rim lock when you're firing. In the post-war years, they came out with this target sight. And if you look at that diameter of that target, that little rear peep sight, it was adjustable. I can see the different diameters as you got bigger, and then back to get the bigger diameter for maybe some closer firing, and that little tiny one for some long range. And again, it was adjustable at the top, so you had adjustments for elevation, and it is graduated up to 1,200 meters. But a nice little addition, make your Lee-Enfield into a target rifle, basically. All right, so we know that Lee-Enfield rifle was, this number 4 Mark 1 was a mid-war production. So things had to be simplified, that had to be produced really quick, very easily, cheaply, fast for the war effort. They're fighting the Nazis, they need as much equipment as they get. Everything is simplified. Even the bayonet for this rifle is a spike, and that's it. Looks like maybe a tent spike. No blade, no knife edge. No, if you look at what the Americans were using, that really beautiful, that M17, or it was 1917, might I say that? Maybe the right one. Anyway, the Americans had that beautiful long, basically knife. The British were using this little spike. It goes on the end of the rifle quite easily. It pops on in about less than a quarter of a turn. It locks in place, and it's on there. Now it's a stab and a poke and a jab and a, and then it comes right back off again. But that was the warrior bayonet. Very, very simple, very, very easy. Probably effective. Again, I wouldn't want a hole poked in me by it. And maybe some Nazis didn't want that either. But that's what the British were putting on the end of their rifles. I talked about this brass butt plate, and it has a little compartment, a little trap door. It's spring loaded, and this spring is heavy. You're going to break a nail if you tried to lift this up with your finger. You have to use a screwdriver. When that thing closes, it's sealed shut, and it's sealed this hollow space inside the stock. And what you'd put in there, you had an oiler. Only this one, it's got like grease on it, so it's probably going to be greasing the bolt. Wouldn't necessarily be oiling it, but this would fit in that tube in the end of the butt plate. Also, what went in the end of the butt plate was a pull-through cleaner. This is like the early version of a bore snake. It has a metal weight at one end and this long cord. You drop that through the barrel, so you go through the breech end. It has several loops at the end. It has a series of these 3 loops. You'd put patches in there, and you'd pull that through. That's how you'd be cleaning your bore. Again, it's very, very light. We can wind this all up and put that in that butt plate, so it doesn't take up much space. There's no cleaning rods rattling around. There's no extra weight of those steel rods. This is very light, very compact, and probably battlefield effective. But that would be how you were cleaning your bore, and then you had your oiler to keep things lubed up so it functioned well. Very simple, very lightweight. Again, it's war era, war effort. Quick and easy, quick and dirty, quick and simple, quick and cheap, that kind of stuff. This is another Lee-Enfield number 4 Mark 1. This one was made by BSA Shirley, British Small Arms of Shirley. And when you see this one held right next to the one from Fizzackerley, you'll see something pretty cool. During World War II, the British went through great lengths to make sure parts interchanged from one manufacturer to another. And if you look at the 2 guns side by side, they're a complete identical gun as far as parts swapping. The only real difference is some of the stamping, some of the lettering, minor details. Like this one has made a steel butt plate and maybe a little cheaper design in the sling swivel. But as far as the rear sights go, as far as the bolt, everything else, you can swap from manufacturer to manufacturer. So not only was that really good trying to make these guns quick, but also making the guns interchangeable, so when the gun came in to be reconditioned, you didn't have to pay attention to which company was making the parts. They would all swap and interchange from one rifle to another. So great for armorers rebuilding rifles in combat situation, or parts replacement when a rifle goes down. Get that rifle back into a shooting capable condition as quick as possible. The British kind of knew what they were doing. If you're looking for a real solid battle rifle, shooting a well-renowned caliber, that 303, you can't beat this number 4 Mark 1 Enfield, Lee-Enfield. Some people will use the old nomenclature of SMLE, that short magazine Lee-Enfield. You'll hear that sometimes. That actually applies to the previous version of this, that number 1 Mark 3. The SMLE terminology was dropped, I believe, 1926. SMLE or smelly. But this is actually, it's a number 4 Mark 1 is the correct terminology for this. If you're looking to get into a real nice surplus rifle at a really good caliber, great, sights, that long sight radius, and with the addition of maybe a target sight, real fun shooting gun. And like all your surplus guns, you have all those extras that went with it. The bayonets, the cleaning rods, things like the sling. But if you're getting into surplus guns, don't pass this one up if you get a shot at a number 4 Mark 1. Great shooter, great feel. I mean, you could kick in a door with this. This thing is solid. No fear of breaking it. But number 4 Mark 1 Lee-Enfield. How can it get any better than this, right? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.